One of the things that we have discussed several times on this show has been whether it's alcohol misuse, recovery. One thing we haven't heard is actually from someone telling their stories themselves, and that's exactly what we're going to hear from. We're going to discuss on this 179th episode of The Jewish Drinking Show, bringing L'chaim to life. Welcome everyone to the next episode of The Jewish Drinking Show. I'm your host, Rabbi Drew Kaplan. I'm excited to welcome first-time guest of the show, Matthew Chak. Matthew, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So for those of the viewers, the listeners who are not familiar with Matthew, Matt, how would you describe yourself?
I'm a Jewish educator and a musician.
Yeah.
And now a first-time author. I'm about to publish my memoir called What Would Philip Roth Do? It's coming out in October of 2025. We're recording this.
Yeah.
And it's really a lot about me and my life, being a Jewish guy growing up in the United States, becoming a musician, falling in love with the Hebrew language, moving to New York, becoming a Jewish educator, which is what, I've been that my entire career. And it's also not just about, I'm a musician, like I told you, a musician. So bluegrass, banjo, Hebrew, the Tanakh, New York, it's a very Jewish story. And there's also a heck of a lot of drinking in it.
Yeah.
I've been sober 11 years now, and the book is exclusively not about getting sober, and it's also not exclusively about my drinking in my life, but there's a lot of it in the book, and it's definitely like the preceding part before I got sober. It all happens in the book. It's really interesting.
Well, thank you, Matthew, for sharing that. And now that we have a sense that there's some drinking at hand. But you mentioned 11 years sober, so congratulations. That definitely sounds like a lot of work.
Thanks.
So we're here to talk about I guess we could say your pathway to sobriety, although that's maybe a backwards way of saying it. Right. So one thing that really captured my attention, I haven't read the book yet, although I imagine listeners, viewers have the chance to do so when it comes out in October. But there were certainly some salient pieces that we had in our conversation over coffee that really stuck out to me, and I'm hoping that viewers and listeners will also find rather fascinating. And I'll also say, even though viewers, listeners can check out a few episodes we've done with regards to this, whether it's families, whether it's recovery, but this is actually not sort of a general organization. This is your story. There's certain experiences and certain lines that you shared with me I wanted to also further share. I found fascinating. Great. So I'll start with this. An experience a lot of people have is with Chabads.
Yes.
Chabads on campus, Chabads in general. I myself, I've had pleasant experiences, and some have rather fun experiences.
Right.
What can you share about your experiences with the drinking and Chabad piece of it?
It's a great question. I loved my Chabad house in college. First of all, I'll just say the rabbi was really an important guy to me and the family. They really opened up their home to me. And it really, it reminded me a lot of, I went to an Orthodox Jewish day school, even though I come from a secular family. And I really didn't do much with my Judaism from the age of 14 when I graduated 8th grade until college, actually. And so going to Chabad more than Hillel, really it brought back that piece that I was missing with my Judaism. It resonated much more with me going to Chabad and doing Kabbalat Shabbat with in the Orthodox way, for lack of a better way of putting it. And drinking is really part of it. It really was. And there really was like this unofficial L'chaim club, and there was always alcohol, and it was easy to drink. And I really knew the other story that was happening in my life at the time, besides for the Chabad piece, was like the moment I got to college, I realized I was drinking differently than everybody else. I was already drunk all the time. And so going to Chabad, it was easy to drink. And it wasn't necessarily encouraged, but it really was just part of the fabric of, at least when I was there. This is 25 years ago. It could be very different now for all I know. It was part of the fabric of everything. And woven into that fabric was a lot of these slogans around how alcohol brings out the spiritual side of you. I'll never forget, there was one phrase that a l'chaim is a chet, a yud, and a mem. So it's two Yehudim surrounded by cham, by warmth. So a l'chaim it elevates your spirituality. right? And so there were some aspects of that kind of, I wouldn't say it poisoned my mind, that's the wrong term, but it gave me this false sense that alcohol and spirituality they went hand in hand.
Well, so I really liked your L'chaim piece of it. I think that's definitely a very encouraging, encouraging, I would say, comforting, maybe it's like almost like a security blanket.
Right, yeah.
What you just mentioned spirituality. So what's that connection between the Jews, spirituality, and drinking? So how'd that come together with that?
In my life, or like how do I see it?
I don't know, both. Like how did that speak to you there?
Right. At the time, I had this in my mind, it was a false understanding. Okay. I had kind of crafted this idea that in order to get to my spirituality, drinking would get me there. I didn't ever say it that explicitly.
Yeah.
But I kind of understood that, like, you're going to be singing, you're going to do a fabring, you're going to be singing nigunim.
Yeah. Like
it brings it out in you.
Yeah.
Right. And there were nights where it really was an amazing experience. And there were some nights where I drank to excess and I didn't know how the night would end. And
I do want to point out, I mean, even though we know the end of the story that you're a musician, I don't think that that's something we should gloss over. It's not, because you mentioned the fabring, so you're singing, you're drinking, you're having a good time. So I think the music plays into it, right? The singing, that it sort of unleashed this. It was a really happy singing place.
Absolutely.
Along with it.
It was always very happy. And you know what? If I were to put on my secular hat, when I got sober, I don't remember a time that I played music or sang sober. I had to ask myself, how did I learn how to actually play the banjo? I had no idea. I mean, it happened somehow.
Yeah.
And I was really terrified in those early gigs. I'm like, how am I supposed to play without drinking? Like, that's how much drinking was a part of my life by the time that I quit in my early 30s. And so I had to really rewire myself for enjoying life, and part of enjoying life was drinking. It really just was, and drinking is really a part of Jewish life. There's just no way around it. It's part of, it really is just part of, not everything, but you can really have this false sense that it's supposed to be the center. And obviously it's sanctifying, right? We make a kiddush over a lot of things, obviously. Like, I'm not glossing over that. Yeah. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I just did a teaching on Yalta.
Oh yeah,
and the 400 jugs.
Yeah,
right. So
we've done an episode on that.
Okay.
Yeah, people can check that episode out.
But if I could really boil it down, I would say that, like, for an alcoholic like me, I had this false sense early on in my early adult years that drinking and spirituality somehow went hand in hand as a Jew. And as I became an older adult and I realized I really couldn't drink safely anymore, I had to abandon that. Kind of like smashing the jugs. I had to smash this mythology that booze really was part of my life as a Jew. Because it couldn't be if I was going to continue to live a life as a respectable adult that had responsibilities. I wasn't going to work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
but I know there's a tangent, but do you want to share a little bit more about Jewish life and sort of the role in drinking? Also, the role of drinking in Jewish life and public Jewish life, and also,
you mean in my experience?
Yeah, in your experience,
right? And
then also throwing in, maybe contrast that with someone who is committed to sobriety,
right? Yeah, I mean, they're all really. So, I come from a totally secular family.
Okay,
like I went to an Orthodox Jewish day school because it was in my neighborhood. So my parents really didn't see. Ironically, they really didn't see my Jewish education. Like, my father has never wrapped tefillin. He's, it was obviously at my bar mitzvah, but I don't have this father-son experience that, like, I kind of learned about in grade school. Strangely, it's really interesting. And part of that experience early on was we were often invited to our teachers' houses in Lakewood, New Jersey for Shabbat. So I actually was at the Beit Midrash Gavoha for Kabbalat Shabbat.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes when I was in grade school.
Yeah.
And one time we went for Purim. One of my earliest memories of drinking was at Purim at the Beit Midrash Gavoha. Yeah. And there were these men that were so drunk and they were dancing, and this one guy threw up all over me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll never forget. He was wearing like tzitzit.
Yeah.
And just threw up all over himself and on me.
Oh, wow.
And like that thought stays with me, because I remember, oh, it's like okay to get that drunk. Or it's even encouraged. It's even a mitzvah, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like a, so that's an early drinking thought that comes to mind when I think about excess and drinking in Judaism. You know, some Simchat Torahs.
Yeah.
Smachot Torah, I would see people like overdo it, and I'd be part of it at the synagogue.
Yeah.
But my family, they drank a lot, but they weren't over drinkers. So I didn't really have, there was no L'chaim club, there was no schnapps, there was no vodka.
Yeah.
There might have been like a glass and a half of wine.
Uh-huh.
But that was really about it in my family, which was not really religious. They were secular.
Yeah.
Right. So it really wasn't until I got older, like I said, or just bring it back to college and Chabad. You know, I really just kind of saw Jewish life as an adult going hand in hand with drinking. Yeah. You know, but I really, you know, the more distance I have from it and I look back, the more I realize I was just kind of in denial and lying to myself, because what I would do, and as an alcoholic, I did this, I made sure that drinking was part of every part of my life. That's where it was a false sense of, to a normal person, you have Kiddush and you have dinner. Yeah. You're not sneaking another glass of wine here and there. You're not wondering what you're going to do tomorrow. You're not excited that it's like a 3-day holiday, you know, just so you could drink. Right. Yeah. So.
But you mentioned the music playing, that you didn't play music without alcohol. Right. They went hand in hand.
Yeah.
There was something else you shared with me, and I don't know where it comes into your life or where you heard it. Something about, and this is something like I've heard from the 1960s and 70s. And I think anybody who's in this space thinks it's laughable that anybody would take this seriously. Right. But that Jews can't be alcoholics, or Jews aren't alcoholics, or can't be, something like that, even though Jews are humans and susceptible to this as well. But where did you hear that, and how did that play into your life?
I think the phrase is, there are no Jewish alcoholics.
Oh, that's what,
I think that's fine. I've heard, you know, I've heard it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. Jews, we see ourselves as not being out. All I can say is that most Jewish people that get sober, their experiences, their family and friends say back to them, there are no Jewish alcoholics. You're not an alcoholic. You just drink too much. That's something that Jews hear from other Jews. And so there is this false sense of collective self that we're outside of addiction, unfortunately. And then the more you're in, you know, the more I immersed myself in Alcoholics Anonymous and would come across other Jews, I found that a lot of us had this kind of same comical reaction from our families. Wow. You know, it wasn't just like the denialism, which is part of any alcoholic telling their family that they're an alcoholic. Okay. A lot of people say, you're not an alcoholic, just drink less. There's this slogan like, well, if there are no Jewish alcoholics, so you're probably not an alcoholic. It's something along those lines. Wow. Right. And
I've never heard of like the denial coming from other people. Right. Like I imagine it came from self-denial, but I didn't realize from others. Yep. Oh wow.
Yep. And I think that if you want to be nuanced about it, which there's no reason not to be. Right. I think that there is a really big drinking culture in Judaism, but not every sector of different types of Jews don't necessarily overdo it. I mean, I don't know. We could probably parse that if we wanted to, but we don't really have to. I'm just trying to think of, like, for example, like when I was living in Israel, I lived in Israel for a year. Yeah. And when I lived there, which is 25 years ago, most people really didn't overdo it with drinking. It was the kids from South Africa and Australia and England and the United States that overdrank. Israeli kids didn't do it. Now the culture's a little different. I was listening to your episode from a few months ago with the doctor, and where was it? Modi'in, maybe? Yeah. That's a new thing. Yeah. It didn't used to be that way. Oh, wow. No, not really. Israelis are like, both their parents are Israeli and like they're not Anglo. Yeah. Like they never overdrank. It's really like it's a diaspora thing. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. Wow.
Hello, dear listeners. It's your host, Rabbi Drew. I wanted to break in right now and just say, hey, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate, or watching, however you're consuming this content. And I'm always open for new ideas, both for specifically the Jewish Drinking Show, whether it's topics, whether it's guests. I'm also looking for other resources that I can provide you with in the Jewish Drinking Project more broadly. Also, you know, I'd really like to offer you the opportunity to sponsor this work. Whether if you want to go to patreon.com/Jewish Drinking, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you have ideas for swag, also please feel free to send them to me at drew@jewishdrinking.com. All right, thank you so much, L'chaim, and now back into the episode.
There was something else you had shared with me when we got together before, What exactly was that?
Yeah, I believe that, and I really don't want to poo-poo Chabad, because I had an amazing experience at Chabad House, and it's a great place to go and get your Judaism when you're in college.
Yeah.
But with regard to drinking, I kind of remember learning, I really can't speak to who said this, but that when you're drinking, you're in an elevated state, so you're more spiritual. That that alcohol somehow, it unlocks that spiritual side of you.
Okay.
Right.
Which, by the way, sounds like it piggybacks off the earlier statement you got from Chabad about l'chaim.
Right, the l'chaim, right.
The 2 yids together.
Right.
Yeah.
The cham, the warmth elevates you. Right.
Yeah. So for this, so this really brings in the spirituality to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And I would say, I was implicitly looking for spirituality in my life when I was a younger man.
Yeah.
And I could not find it. There was this void inside of me. And the void was really filled by the drinking.
It sounds like, and also the singing, though, the Farbrengens in general. It wasn't, I mean, I know drinking is, of course, what we're talking about, but it wasn't isolated.
No.
Right? You have the singing.
Yeah.
You have probably the divrei Torah.
Community.
Yeah, the community aspect. So that's
right. The Jewish.
Sure, I'm sure the drinking is what ties it all together, but it wasn't the only aspect of that. That really, I think, elevated that spiritual feeling, right?
Yes. Yeah. I guess as an alcoholic, what I have to ask myself is what, and we all do this in sobriety when we try to figure out, what's the motive here? Was I just trying to find a space where I could drink? Or was I looking for spirituality and drinking was part of it? Then there's a difference there, right?
Yeah.
And so at some point, there was this crossover where I no longer was really there. It was the Yetzer Hara, right?
Right.
At what point was there this crossover from being there for the Judaism and the community, or just an excuse to drink underage, or just to party, right? Which was it? And you know what? It almost really doesn't matter anymore.
That's it for sure. Yeah. Although I suspect that, when you probably got started, you weren't necessarily going for the drinking.
That's right.
It probably was for the spiritual, the communal, the other aspects.
The drinking made it more fun.
Right. It
elevated it.
Elevated it.
Right.
I went for that word.
Yeah.
Well, because it sounds like also you felt spiritually elevated in addition to the communal elevation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to be in Chabad and Farbring and drink and dance and sing, and you feel part of the Jewish people. That's what it's all about. You know. But there are people. What ends up happening to an alcoholic when you're really honest with yourself is it becomes just about the drinking, and there's no way to undo that.
Yeah.
A pickle cannot become a non-pickle. You can't go back to being a cucumber.
Yeah.
You can't have this magic sieve that pulls this desire to drink too much out of you. Once it's unlocked, you can't undo it. And that's not a tragedy. It just means you're different than other people. It just means you can't drink safely. That's just my lot in life. And in a certain respect, I actually kind of see it like a blessing because it makes me live a life of intention, which I don't always live a life of intention. But when I'm my best self as a sober man, I really ask myself, what's this idea of what's the motive behind it? Look how I just parsed that out for you.
Yeah.
Right. I really had to say, I'm sure, in the beginning I went for the Judaism, but at some point the drinking really took over. And the real reason I was there was the drinking. Everything else kind of revolved around it. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Before that transition, though, it did help fuel. Yeah. Is that a fair description? It helped fuel the experience, the spiritual aspect, the communal aspect.
Yes. And
then there's this, cannot forget the singing, especially for you.
Of course not.
And its role in those. It sounds like they were wonderful experiences.
They were amazing.
Yeah.
I loved Chabad.
Yeah.
And I had my best friends, one of my only friends from college. Still, we met at Chabad House.
Yeah.
My college girlfriend I met at Chabad. We dated for a couple of years. We made challah every Friday night. I love Kabbalat Shabbat. It's always stayed with me. Those times. It's really, but this particular piece of it.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting look. We're at a moment in our society and history where all of these norms are just kind of questioned. Like you never would really, there's some stuff you just kind of always brushed under the carpet.
Yeah.
There would be, Uncle Morty would always drink too much and he would live his whole life like drinking too much. Yeah. Right. So I was Uncle Morty in my 20s and I just kind of cut it off.
Yeah. So it sounds like Chabad was very instrumental, very significant. And then after college, what went on in your 20s?
Right. So I lived in Israel for a year.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the most important years of my life. I had a really interesting time there. Actually, the biggest volunteer experience I did was I worked in a church in Haifa. In Arab, I decorated the first Christmas tree of my life in Israel. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah.
But it was a course with the Sochnut, so I did a lot of Jewish stuff with, as I lived in a Merkaz Klita, and I did a lot of volunteering and stuff, and it was really great. I'm trying to think of like what to add about drinking. The people I lived with didn't drink as much as me, and the Israelis didn't drink as much as me. Yeah. Like I was saying, because Israelis back then, when they had a beer, they had like a beer. I didn't understand that. Because I just came from college, right? Yeah. And people just overdo it. At least when I went to college, they overdid it.
Yeah.
So, that was the year where I kind of in my story, I kind of took a year off from overdoing it.
Oh, wow.
Because like people didn't overdrink in Israel.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to. I remember being kind of a bit of a relief. Yeah, in my story, and then after that, I moved to New York.
Yeah.
I was in graduate school in my mid-20s, and New York is a place where everybody drinks too much. So, like my friends in grad school, we would party, but nobody drank as much as I did. And then I was playing a lot of music. I'm a bluegrass banjo player, so like I'd be in bars.
Yeah,
and it was just normal to drink a lot. I mean, when you're in your 20s, you drink. Yeah, that's just how it was. And so it really kind of fueled. Once again, I kind of made the drinking and the music and the party and kind of the center, and everything else was kind of around it. And I was just really kind of able to manage and juggle all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey there. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. I wanted to break in and give you a sneak peek into next week's episode featuring Ronnie Perellis discussing medieval Jewish wine poetry. Here we go.
He has to go to the South. You don't stay in the Christian North. That's considered that was backward. That was very limited.
Oh, really? It was a lot more creative in the Muslim South.
Yes. Yeah. Because you had this mix. You had Jews, you had Christians, you had Muslims.
I hope you enjoyed that sneak peek into next week's episode featuring Professor Ronnie Perellis. I hope you come back and listen to that show. And now back into this episode featuring Matthew Check. What about Jewish life? The intertwining of drinking and Jewish life.
Right.
How'd that play out in your 20s?
The way it played out was there'd be a lot of like potluck Shabbats, like Kabbalat Shabbat, or sometimes I'd play. It was really fun. We'd have like a Kabbalat Shabbat band.
Yeah.
And we'd have like potluck dinners, or we'd have like minyanim for young people.
Yeah.
And there'd be, people bring wine and beer, and we'd drink. And I always, I wasn't 100%, I use the term pickle. I wasn't 100% pickled yet.
Okay.
So sometimes I just finished dinner and I'd go home and everything would be fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd overdo it. Somebody would bring like some whiskey, whenever there was like hard liquor, something bad would happen. I'd wake up in the morning. I wouldn't remember how the night ended.
Oh, wow.
I'd have to call somebody after Shabbat and ask them what had happened. Right.
Yeah.
So those types of things started to creep into my life.
Yeah.
In my 20s. Those were the early, obviously it happened in college too, but I remember thinking early on in my 20s in New York, I'm like, wow, like this is still kind of happening. But I have to think it to myself, because it's not like I had anybody to bounce the idea off of it. Fast forward, I was when I was 29, I moved into an apartment on the Upper East Side where I would live for 11 years. It was the apartment I got sober in.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget that first week. I bought a bottle of wine for I had dinner by myself, and it was on a Friday night. It was after I was finishing up a program. And next thing I know, I wake up on the couch and the sun is coming up and the whole bottle of wine is empty. I'm like, I remember thinking, that's interesting. How did I drink that whole thing by myself? And there was a real marker in my mind. I'm like, wow, I really can just be by myself and drink.
Yeah.
And nobody has to know. It was like my own little dark secret, right? And the reason I bring that up is because I had been living that way for years already, but never was it so I had to really like see it for what it was. I was in my mid to late 20s, like 2006, 7, 8.
Yeah.
So like, I'm setting the stage. Bush into Obama years. I would say that most people that I was around didn't drink as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't so far gone yet that I had to really hide it.
But then it sounds like you did at some point start hiding it.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then at some point when you got into the hiding piece, the portion, and you realized, wait, and then it became that wine bottle story you mentioned?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Once I crossed over into 29, 30,
yeah,
I was drinking by myself 5, not 7 nights of the week.
Uh-huh.
And I was always blacked out.
Oh, wow.
So I would wake up out of a blackout not knowing how the night ended. I'm not being dramatic. I just was.
Yeah.
You know, and so I lived in a blackout and a hangover.
Mm.
And I was really good at hiding it because I was functioning. I had a great job. I was doing fine.
Yeah.
And I'd go out to dinner with friends.
Yeah.
I'd have like 1 or 2 drinks.
Yeah.
I'd go home and nobody would know.
Uh-huh.
Nobody would know, you know, how I was living after that.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey there, I wanted to break in yet again. Although I asked for support in financial ways because it does cost some money to make the hosting happen and other aspects of Jewish drinking happen. So your financial support is definitely appreciated. And don't forget, you can go to jewishdrinking.com/donate. But also, another way of supporting the show and everything that Jewish Drinking does is also to tell your friends, tell your neighbors. If you like this content, if you like this show, maybe people you know also like it. So feel free to let them know, hey, I have this interesting episode I heard, or a few episodes, or whatever it is, or even a few clips. Feel free to share with your friends. All right, thank you so much. Now back into the show.
You mentioned the wine bottle experience, and that sort of like clicked for you. So how did you then enter into the next stage of, it wasn't necessarily yet sobriety, but how did you make that decision that this is something that you needed to change for yourself?
Yeah. Bad things started to happen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I would just, they weren't awful things, but they were really embarrassing.
Okay.
Just not knowing how the night ended,
Mm-hmm.
having to call people,
Yeah.
ask them what had happened.
Yeah.
You know, and to be honest with you, the real straw that broke the camel's back for me was I was on this date with this woman that I was really excited about.
Yeah.
I had no idea how the night ended.
Uh-huh.
Like absolutely no clue.
Mm.
And it was like a really bad, it was like a really bad country song. I woke up in the morning, my head was on the wooden floor, and I've written a song about this, by the way.
Okay.
I have a song on my record from 2022 called Old Wooden Floor.
Uh-huh.
And it's about this experience.
Is it a country song?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Appropriate for the genre.
Yeah. And like, it was a really hot summer, and like the air conditioning was on. I had no idea how she went home.
Mm. Wow.
I had to call her, be like, hey, like, what happened? You know, and it was just really embarrassing. She said, you know, you said a lot of stupid things and you need help.
Wow.
That's what she said to me. And for whatever reason, I heard at that time.
Uh-huh.
You know, I had to admit to myself that that exactly hadn't happened before, but I had been putting myself in situations until that point that were really embarrassing.
Yeah.
And like anything could have happened, and I just couldn't trust myself anymore.
Mm.
You know, and so I didn't stop drinking right away. I drank for another month.
Uh-huh.
And then it's funny, I gave myself a stopping point, and I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, really, like on that was August 14th of 2014.
Wow.
And after that, I lived in Manhattan. You can stumble across a meeting for Alcoholics Anonymous. There's so many. So I walked into a meeting, and I haven't looked back. I've been really lucky.
That's great.
Yeah.
During this period, since 2014,
Yep.
have there, whether it's connecting or meeting other Jews who are in recovery, have there been particular insights you've gained or things you've heard?
Yeah. The thing that stuck out to me initially with AA,
Yeah.
a lot of Jews are afraid of AA because it almost has this very Christian Gnostic gospel feel to it,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
there's no way around it. It feels Christian. Like you sit around, you read from a book. It feels like a Bible study, and not like studying Torah. It feels like a Bible study.
Yeah.
So, but what I found, to be honest with you, was like once I got beyond that, I connected with everybody's story. Like you feel like you're in a boat with somebody and you've gotten across a very treacherous sea. Like that's how it felt. And once I had to admit to myself, I'm like, I'm an alcoholic. This is where I need to be to not to drink. And I just, it worked for me right away. So I consider myself lucky in that respect. And then because you're in New York, there are so many Jews in AA
I can imagine
that like you're really fine. You feel safe. You don't feel like they're trying to convert you or for lack of a better term. And another thing that makes you feel really comfortable in AA is the idea is like you have to believe in what you call a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is the God of your own understanding. And it's a very progressive idea because the book was written originally in the 1930s. It's kind of amazing to think that people said, whatever it is you need to believe in to not drink, that's what you need to believe in. Right? And so it was the first time in my adult life where, I have master's degrees and I can read the Bible in Hebrew and like I know what Vav Hayipuch is and I can tell you all this grammatical stuff and I could read, the super commentators for you. But I had to think about what it meant, what God really meant to me. I'd never like thought about it. Even all the papers I wrote, all the synagogues I've been to in my life, I had to be like, what does it really mean to me? And then on top of that, it was like I needed to come up with it so I would never drink again. I had to be like, I really need to believe in this thing. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I believe in God like that.
Yeah.
I believe in, I'm a Jew. I read Hebrew.
Yeah.
I think it's important to like fast on Yom Kippur. But what is God? I had to really be like, what is God? I had to really think about it. And so, I'll be honest with you, some days I still don't believe in a God. I'm really agnostic and I just believe in the power of humanity and people holding each other up. And on other days, I feel like miracles happen to me. And I'm like, God is really with me.
Wow.
Like the type of God that Moses had. It's like that. And I feel like I can talk to that God. And I'm fine with the mystery. It doesn't bother me. And so these things happened to me really early on in sobriety. In the strangest things, like we would have a conversation and there would be no drinking. And I'd be like, wow, how did I just meet a friend and do something and not drink? And that was a miracle.
That was surprising. That was a miracle to you?
That's how much I drank.
Wow.
And I'd be like, I just had this difficult conversation with my boss and I didn't go to the bar afterwards. I just had this amazing date with this woman.
Wow.
And we didn't have a glass of wine. Miracle.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I woke up in the morning and I wasn't hungover. Miracle.
Wow.
These are all Shehechiana moments.
I mean, here, like what I'm like, as someone who actively drinks and other people who probably listen to this also drink, like I don't even drink that. Like, yeah.
That's how much it was a part of my everyday existence. Unfortunately, it was a burden. I could not do it.
Wow.
I know it sounds crazy, and that's because it is crazy.
I mean, I can see someone living their life that way, like almost like every significant thing that happens punctuated or otherwise celebrated or mourned over drink.
Yes. Yep.
I could see it. It's not impossible. It's not a fantasy, but it's a lot. Also,
it's a lot, and it's excess, and it's part of Another thing I wanted to say, that coming with the miraculous piece of my life and the godly, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I have this distinction in my mind. Sometimes it's a miracle and God is in my life.
Yeah.
And sometimes the agnostic side of me, I'm like, this was a miraculous thing, or this was godly.
Yeah.
It's as if there was God with me at the moment. Like sometimes I'm on either side of that pendulum. The other thing that was amazing to me about AA early on was this idea of making amends, which is not saying you're sorry. It's an extra step. It's actually like if I took this bottle from you and you never even realized it and you thought that you lost it.
Yeah.
But I took it from your house one night that I was drunk.
Yeah.
And that was 5 years ago. And I'm sitting with my sponsor and I'm making a list of all the people I owe amends to.
Yeah.
This memory might pop up. I'm like, oh, I was over at Drew's house. We were having a really fun time. And his bottle that he hiked Kilimanjaro with, I took it from him just because I felt like it.
Yeah.
I would call you up and I would say, I'm sorry I took your bottle. I'm going to buy you a new one. And you would do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you make a real amends. It's not just
an apology.
Right.
Yeah.
And that piece to it, what was so amazing about it was everybody who had gotten sober that I met in the program and who had done the 12 steps and who had sponsees, all of them had made real amends in their lives.
Mm.
And that was really amazing to me because I couldn't think of any of my Jewish mentors in my life that actively lived in amends that I ever spoke to.
Mm.
Like, I just, like, it's not part of, like you don't make a list with your rabbi at some point before Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
You just say, like, unofficially or, informally, this year I'm going to work on X.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel good about it. And Yom Kippur happens and everything is Ne'ulah and you go back to doing it the next day.
Uh-huh.
Right? So that piece to me, it really forced me to kind of look at my spirituality in a way that Judaism, ironically, had never asked me to do. I mean, you can make the argument, maybe if I had, I don't know, been more Shomer Mitzvot, I might have arrived at that.
Uh-huh.
But we don't know. And that's not even the point. I'm just telling you my spiritual path.
Yeah.
God has brought me to this place where my spirituality really resides within sobriety.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, and I would not have discovered wanting to live a life of integrity without having to get sober. It just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because all of those things I just discussed is in Jewish philosophy and thought.
Mm.
It's all there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just living a life of integrity and substance and being aware of your surroundings and treating people respectfully and treating yourself. It's all in Torah,
Uh-huh.
but ironically, I had to just bottom out before I would even want to live a life of integrity
Yeah.
as an adult.
Wow. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for sharing your story, your incredible vulnerability and courage. Those are really impressive.
Thank you.
But of course, also very insightful as well, hearing these aspects of your story. But before we go, normally I ask if there's something you'd like to promote, but I'm sure it's your book coming out very soon in October.
Yes.
So would you like to share a little bit more about that book?
Sure.
Yeah.
My first book, my memoir, it's called What Would Philip Roth Do?
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out in October of 2025, and it's about my origin story about my early life as an adult, moving to New York, my failed relationships, going to graduate school, playing the banjo, loving the Hebrew language, becoming a Jewish educator, and my whole life just falling apart. If you love ridiculous and quirky stories about being American and Jewish in New York, I think this memoir is going to be for you. It is not for the faint of heart, so bring your lens where you're ready to just, I don't know, read stuff that might shock you.
Okay.
So be forewarned.
Awesome. All right. Well, Matthew, thank you so much, and l'chaim.
L'chaim l'cha.
L'chaim.
And l'chaim.